Good morning, everyone. The time is now 9:30. I will call the August 14th, 2018 meeting of the Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on our agenda is a public comment for the Embrace Millcreek Comprehensive Plan. Anyone in the audience care to address the board regarding the Embrace Millcreek Comprehensive Plan? Hearing none, we also want to make a note that our next meeting, which will be 7 o'clock on August 28th, will be the formal public hearing for the comprehensive plan, and it's anticipated the board will make a final vote to adopt the plan that evening. Next item is public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications. Would anyone care to address the board regarding today's agenda? Hearing none, our next item is approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the July 24th minutes?
Yes, I'll move on that action.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the bills. Is there a motion to pay the bills?
Yes, I'll move to pay those bills.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
Vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next on our agenda is Millcreek Police Department promotions and administrations of oath of office. I'll turn it over to Mr. Bach or the chief.
Thank you, John. I'll turn it over to the chief.
Thank you, Jim.
Who's got the ball?
First, I would like to request permission or approval for the promotion of Timothy Farrick to lieutenant. Sergeant Farrick has been acting lieutenant of the 2nd Platoon in the Patrol Division since the retirement of Lieutenant Chris Lucas. He's been with the Millcreek Police Department for 11 years. He previously served 13 years in the City of Erie Police Department and was a patrol supervisor with them prior to joining our department. So with that, I request approval for his promotion.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Nope.
Is there a motion to approve the promotion of Officer Farrick?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Congratulations,
very
Officer Farrick. Lieutenant Farrick now.
Lieutenant Farrick. Secondly, I would ask that Officer Kranz come forward with his family for the oath of office. Officer Kranz was a graduate of Gannon University. He received a bachelor's degree in criminal justice with minors in computer science and leadership studies. At Gannon, he was commissioned as a 2nd lieutenant in the United States Army through the ROTC program. He currently serves in the United States National Guard. He began his conditional employment with us on June 29th. And I'm asking that you've given the formal oath of office at this time.
Okay.
Good. Raise your right hand, sir, and repeat after me. I, state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth. That I will discharge the duties of Millcreek Township Police Officer in Millcreek Township, Erie County, with fidelity. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a reception out in the lobby for our officers today. If anyone would like to excuse themselves to participate in the reception, you are excused now. Next on our agenda is bids and quotations. First is tree removal from the Public Works Department. I know Mr. Snyder's not available today. Mr. Groh, do you want to cover that?
Yes,
one
I
for
can
us?
take care of that there. This comes from the Public Works Department in regards to a tree cleanup, and I think it was a removal a tree that had fallen. The address is 5161 Evans Road in that vicinity. It's a township tree. The bids came from J. Thomas Tree Service at $2,000, Leopold Tree Service at $2,800, and Dibble Tree Service at $1,850. It is recommended, and I recommend that Dibble Tree Service be awarded the cleanup contract for that at $1,850.
Any questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion to approve the contract with Double Tree Service for $1,850?
Yes, I'll move on that.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
Vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center Driving Range ADA project from the Planning and Development Department.
Good morning. Thank you. As part of our ongoing consent decree, we are upgrading township facilities to meet current Americans with Disabilities Act standards. The Millcreek Golf and Learning Center is going to get compliant parking and access to the driving range. We solicited quotations and we reached out to 3 contractors. We contacted Amendola Development, who gave us no bid. We contacted Maya Brothers Incorporated, who quoted $10,250. And we contacted Finney and Son Concrete, who quoted us $10,380. It is the recommendation of the Planning and Development Department that we award the contract to Maya Brothers Incorporated at the quoted price of $10,250.
Thank you, Mr. Waldinger. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, is there a motion to approve the contract with Maya Brothers, the cost not to exceed $10,250 for the ADA compliance project at the Golf and Learning Center driving range?
Yes, I'll move on that action.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The next item is the Zook Park ADA project from the Planning and Development Department.
Thank you. Another Americans with Disability Act compliance for Zook Park. This will add 2 handicap accessible parking spaces as well as an accessible path to the pavilion and the playground. We solicited quotes again for this project. We contacted Amendola Development, who gave no bid. We contacted Maya Brothers, who gave a bid of $11,600. And we contacted Finney and Son Concrete, who gave a bid of $10,950. It is the recommendation of the Planning and Development Department that we award this contract to Finney and Son Concrete in the amount of $10,950. I neglected to mention at the last item that, as well as this one, are both budgeted expenses in our department.
Any questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion to approve the contract with Finney and Son Concrete for $10,950 for the ADA project at Zook Park?
Yes, I'll move on that action.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item, Mr. Waldinger's busy today. Old Perry Highway Culvert Project from Planning and Development.
Yes, this is an emergency contract to address a pipe failure that we're having on Old Perry Highway. We solicited bids for the work to be done. The bid package was prepared by our consulting engineer, Mark Corey. We had 9 contractors who picked up the packet. Out of the 9, 6 submitted bids. The bids were as follows. Mayer Brothers Construction, let me start with Shivers Construction Company bid $180,528. Consul Construction bid $96,000. McClellan Construction bid $94,673.50. Ray Showman Excavating bid $83,665.37. Shingle Deckers Welding bid $80,282,000. And Mayer Brothers Construction bid $62,984.54. It's a recommendation of the Planning and Development Department as well as Mark Corey, our consulting engineer, that the bid be awarded to Mayer Brothers Construction for $62,984.54.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Waldinger, just to clarify, it's a pretty wide range of prices. I think the highest was 180, the lowest about 60. We're confident that the low bid is appropriate and accurate?
Yes, the bids have been reviewed. It is complete, mathematically correct, and within budget, and was recommended for approval.
My next question for you is, I understand this was an unforeseen cost. Maybe it's more of a question for Mark. Do we need to authorize use of our fund balance to cover this project, or are we confident we have resources in either the planning development line items or streets department line item to cover these costs?
I'd have to review, I don't know offhand. Probably to be safe, we probably should go ahead and allocate a fund balance to it, and if not, then we can change it back later.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, the township, or the Planning and Development Department does have $50,000 in the contingency fund in the Planning and Development Department that we can apply to that, as well as probably some bid savings from previous contracts that should
Okay.
close the gap.
Well, I'll ask for a motion to approve the Mayer Brothers construction contract for $62,984.54, and further move that, as necessary, funds can be authorized from fund balance to cover these costs.
Yes. I'll move on both of those actions.
Is there a second?
I'll second both.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you, Mr. Waldinger and your team. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Next is the dry prime pump from Public Works Department. Mr. Groh, would you like to cover that?
Yes, this comes from Gary Snyder, Public Works Director, in regards to a purchase of a dry prime pump. This was a budgeted item. This is an 8-inch Godwin pump used to pump out storm sewers and so on. As his recommendation at the, let's see here. We have, I think, just one bid on this.
I believe it's a CoStar's price.
CoStar's price anyway, yeah. The price on this through CoStar's, which is the state purchasing organization, $64,170.16. It's a CoStar's contract number 016-008. Just as a note, the price does not reflect the freight charge for delivery of that. So I'm going to take just a wild stab in the dark, maybe another $500 for delivery charge. Maybe high, maybe low on that there, but it is urgent that we get this pump as soon as we can. So, okay. With that, I'd like to put that in form of a motion to purchase that.
Is there a second?
I will second.
I have one question. Mr. Krzeszki, this is coming out of sewer revenue fund and not the general fund. Is that accurate?
It is a budgeted item.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments from the board? All right, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. I believe that concludes bids and quotations for the day. Next item on the agenda is public hearing for intermunicipal liquor license transfers. The first is Steve-O's Pizza Presque Isle LLC. Is anyone present to represent Steve-O's Pizza?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Richard Blakely. I'm the attorney for Steve-O's here today on a petition for an intermunicipal transfer of liquor license from Union City Borough to be utilized by the Steve-O's location at 35 Peninsula Drive. The purpose of the acquisition of this license would be for to enable the business to expand its business model, since it's essentially a seasonal location right now. This would allow them to be open and perhaps draw and enhance their revenue for the entirety of the 12-month season. There's no intention to engage in any significant amount of walk-in, walk-out type traffic. The intention is to use this as a restaurant liquor license, although if need be, if someone were to come in and make a request such as that, certainly we would service that.
Just so I'm clear, that would allow you folks to actually sell six-packs out of your establishment as well as a restaurant?
That would be allowable under the license, but that's not really the intention. The intention is to have folks come in and have more complete restaurant experience and allow for employment throughout the whole 12 months and generally to allow another option in Millcreek Township.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board or our solicitor?
No, all the paperwork's completed and appropriate, so just subject to actually taking public comment and public hearing on it.
Okay. Anyone in the audience care to address this issue, provide comment on this liquor license transfer? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Want to have a seat?
Thank you for your time.
We'll proceed with the vote shortly.
Thank you.
Next, intermunicipal liquor license transfer before Country Fair Incorporated. Anyone care to speak on behalf of Country Fair?
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Guy Strayer from Country Fair. I'm responsible for the construction, and I'm with Jamie Capello, who's our marketing manager, who will be responsible for the program in the store. We're interested in upgrading our facility at 5838 Wattsburg Road. It's our store 25. We're making a market improvement to the facility and looking to have a transfer of an R1 license into the facility at the same time.
We follow all the PLCB requirements. We take it to the next level. We are looking to sell for take-home as well as on-premise. We have everyone trained. This license was acquired through a PLCB auction. We appreciate it.
Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Shaw, anything to add?
Just simply that all the paperwork has been reviewed and is complete and is prepared to be voted upon.
Would anyone in attendance care to address this issue, comment on this liquor license transfer? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
With that, we will close the public hearing on the intermunicipal liquor license transfers. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 2018-R32, a resolution of the Township of Millcreek, County of Erie, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, approving the intermunicipal transfer of restaurant liquor license number R8908 into the Township of Millcreek from the Borough of Union City. This will be the transfer to Steve-O's Pizza. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2018-R32?
Yes, I'll move on that resolution.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is Resolution 2018-R33, a resolution of the Township of Millcreek, Erie County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, approving the intermunicipal transfer of restaurant liquor license number R-16989 into the Township of Millcreek from Union Township. This would be the Country Fair transfer. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2018-R33?
Yes, I'll move to approve that resolution.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on our agenda, if you give me one moment, gentlemen. Is Resolution 2018-R34, a resolution pursuant to Resolution 2015-R20 and the Municipal Records Manual to approve proposed disposition of certain township records. This morning, those records are only the deletion of video dash cam footage once they reach their maturity date. So this would be a motion to approve the deletion of dash cam videos that reach their maturity date between the dates of August 15, 2018 to August 28, 2018. Any questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2018-R34?
Yes, I'll move to approve that resolution.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next on our agenda is a public hearing on a petition requesting a change in zoning classification. NLA Real Estate Holdings LLC for property located at 4321 West Ridge Road, now zoned R1 Single Family Residential and C2 General Commercial, asking for a .9 acre portion of the property in the rear to be classified as R4 high-density residential. I will open a public hearing. Is anyone here to represent NLA Real Estate Holdings, LLC?
Good morning, Mike Sanford, 4721 Atlantic Avenue, Sanford Surveying and Engineering. I'm the consultant for the applicant. As you described, it's a rezoning of a rear portion of a piece of property from a little bit of residential, a little bit of commercial into R4. He had previously sought and received approval of adjacent property to be rezoned to R4, and this would just be adjacent to what he already had rezoned. So we're looking forward to an approval so we can move forward with our project.
Thank you. Mr. Walder, Mr. Puz, I apologize, jumped the gun. Do you gentlemen have any comments on the rezoning request?
Good morning. Name's Matthew Puz with the Planning and Development Office. At the regular meeting on July 3rd, 2018, and in concurrence with the recommendation of the Erie County Department of Planning, the Millcreek Township Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the proposed rezoning at 4321 West Ridge Road from the R1 Single Family Residential and C2 General Commercial Districts to R4 High Density Residential.
Were there any comments made at the Planning Commission regarding this issue?
No.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, just for clarification, this area right here is going to be used for a retention pond. Am I correct in that? Or am I?
It's looking at.
You're looking at that
Yeah,
for a
that's
future
correct.
development,
That's
that is, okay, which is good, having a, for stormwater controls.
Yes.
I know that was a big concern of the neighbors in regards to the rezoning, which isn't even a land development application, but.
Correct.
So
Land
this is,
development, yes.
this
Yes.
is something that the developer is, doing in advance to make sure that he has the room to put a stormwater retention pond.
Correct.
Okay, so, just for clarification, that's all. Thank you.
I had a question. Was this the parcel where there was a gas well recently?
No, this is east of that.
East of that? Okay, it's not the same parcel. Okay, thank you.
Would anyone in attendance care to address this issue? So do you have comments to make, sir?
I just wanted to say there was a gas well on this property.
There was a gas well on the property, is that?
Oh, that's what he said, yes. We're not aware of that, but that's what he indicated.
Sir, would you mind coming to the podium, stating your name and address, please? And also, if you would please sign in at the podium, that would be very helpful for us. If you wouldn't mind signing in as well.
Oh, sure. My name's Larry Ushler, and I live at 4258 West 28th Street, which is a property behind the property that is being reviewed and discussed now. I've lived in the property for 40 years, and so I am aware of when the gas wells were built and also when they were capped. And my concern is that I don't know the regulations regarding how far apartments have to be away from capped gas wells.
Okay.
I can't find that in any of the Millcreek information. I know in different areas, the allowance of a setback ranges from 200 feet to 700 feet. But like I said, I can't find anything here. So I just wanted to call your attention to the fact that there was a gas well there, and that I think some recommendation needs to be made for how far away the apartments can be built from the capped gas well.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments regarding the rezoning, sir?
I'm not against the rezoning itself. I just wanted to point out the fact that there was a well there.
Okay.
And I did have a comment about a proposed trench being put along that property, digging up the
sewer system and replacing it with a trench, but I don't know whether this is the appropriate time to talk about that.
That'll probably be under public comment at the end of the meeting, if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate the time. I guess Mr. Sanford and Plan Development, if you wouldn't just make sure you're aware, apparently there may have been one, and I believe we do have regulations regarding setbacks from.
Any of that would be handled during the land development stage if a development's proposed for there. Yeah, we would vet all that information.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Would anyone else care to address the board regarding this? Please, sir, if you wouldn't mind standing up and coming to the podium, stating your name and address, and if you could please sign in at the podium as well.
Yes, I am Jim Barrickman. I live at 4268 West 28th Street, and I'm very concerned about water problems that we've always had, and they're going to talk about building some high-density apartments, and we're wondering where the water is going to go as it goes south. Now, eventually it'll end up in the creek there, and we've had floods many times. 15 months ago, we had, in our backyard, we had close to 8 feet of water. And there's some talk about, taking out the big pipe, which is 60 inches, I believe, and making an open ditch. Now, everybody knows that the problem is water cannot get under the street at 26th Street. Now, there it's a 40-inch pipe, and we know that PennDOT has responsibility for that, but we've got to get that fixed. They made matters worse just a few years ago by extending the underground pipe from the highway south another 100 feet. Now, and then they covered it. Now that makes it even more difficult to go under the street, because now you've got another 100 feet of construction or taking the pipe out. In our backyards, they spent a lot of money recently cleaning out the 60-inch diameter pipe. And I see no reason for a ditch would really destroy a lot of trees back there. There are some arborvitaes in my neighbor to the east, or to the west. And there are a bunch of pine trees. There's 27 trees in one area and 26 in another, along with some really big trees, ash trees and pine trees. So basically what I'm here to petition is that we eliminate the need to take out that pipe, because that's not the solution to our problem.
Well, sir, and I'm very sorry to interrupt you, but this is a public hearing about the rezoning application.
Okay, well,
happy to discuss this issue with you at the end of the meeting, as we said to Larry.
I'd be glad to talk to anybody if they come over to our building, or our property.
Do you have any concerns about the actual rezoning of the property?
Only the buildup of water.
Okay.
It's going to go into that creek, and it still can't get under the road.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Would anyone else care to address the board regarding this rezoning application? Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Walding, just to clarify regarding the stormwater concerns, I know we do have a stormwater management ordinance in place. I imagine whatever footprint is ultimately built here will be required to meet our standards for stormwater management.
Yeah, absolutely. We're concerned with the water situation over there as well, and any new development may impact that. So at the land development stage, when they submit their plans for the building, they'll also have to submit a stormwater management plan that shows that they will not increase the runoff in any way from their development. We will require that to be approved before they can go ahead with any construction.
Thank you, Mr. Walding. Any further questions or comments from the board? Or our staff? All right. With that, is there a motion to approve the rezoning request for NLA Real Estate Holdings LLC for the property located at 3221 West Ridge Road to rezone approximately .9 acres of the property in the rear to R4 high-density residential.
Yes, I'll move on that rezoning request.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next on our agenda is DEP reimbursement. Mr. Groh, would you like to cover this?
Yes, I was hoping that Jessica Stutzman would be here, but she's probably tied up in her office with some other matters. Anyway, she had given me a memo earlier. This is in regards to the Millcreek, or the Millfair tire collection and paper shred day. This was back in May 19th and May 20th at the Compost and Recycling Center. We're fortunate to have a large group of township employees and volunteers to help unload tires and boxes of paper. Special thanks to, of course, Jessica Stutzman, Judy Zelina, Mark Dietz, Steve Cornelius, Sue Bardo, Ken Fromnick, Janine Fennell, Vicki Andrews, members of the Erie County Adult Probation Department, and Fairview Township employees. Staff and volunteers unloaded 17,309 pounds of paper from residents' vehicles, along with 786 tires, equaling roughly 22,400 pounds. That's a lot. This event is very important to the recycling department to continue into the future. The free shredding service allows Millcreek Township, with help from Perello Enterprises, to assist residents in properly destroying their personal and confidential documents, thereby preventing identity theft. It is just as important to also recycle tires every year. Millcreek Township is hoping to prevent illegal dumping of tires and also prevent tire piles from becoming breeding grounds for vermin and mosquitoes by holding their collection. The recycling department is seeking approval. This is what the action at hand here is about. Seeking approval from the township supervisors.
Time's up, John. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Can I start over again? Give me another 5,
No, you
okay?
don't have to start.
The recycling department is seeking approval from the Millcreek Township supervisors to apply for a grant for reimbursement from the PADEP Household and Small Business Pollution Prevention Act in the amount of $2,292. That's what the action at hand here is. Okay, so I'm going to put that in the form of a motion that we approve that grant application, approve her to apply for that.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Any questions or comments from the board?
They do a great job there in our recycling department.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It should be noted, I guess, about $555 of this will also be passed through to Fairview Township,
Yes.
which helps us
Oh,
with the
yeah.
operation of the Millfair Composting Center.
That is correct. Yep.
All right, with that, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on our agenda is an action on renewal of services agreement with Greenman Peterson Incorporated, GPI, for engineering services. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. As you well know, the township has for many years contracted with a third-party engineering firm to do work regarding stormwater management reviews for new developments. That firm has historically been Hill Engineering. Within the past life of the contract, Hill Engineering has been acquired by Greenman Peterson Incorporated. The current contract with them expired July 31st, and the township has recommended, or the Planning and Development Department has recommended, that the township exercise the 1-year extension on the contract with Greenman Peterson Incorporated for stormwater services.
Any questions or comments from the board? All right. Is there a motion to approve the renewal of the service agreement with Greenman Peterson Incorporated, GPI, for engineering services?
Yes, I'll move to approve that new agreement.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next on our agenda is action on hands pilot agreements. I believe I'll turn it over to Mr. Shaw.
These are two pilot agreements to be entered into between the township and several of the other taxing bodies, and ultimately hands two of their properties, Ridgebury Apartments and I think Maryvale Apartments. These are similar to agreements that Hands entered into with the city for similar type properties. I believe these are going to be 2-year agreements, and then it'll transition, I believe, into 100% payments. Evan Adair reviewed these on behalf of the township and recommends that the township approve and execute these documents. The agreements have already been signed by the representatives of each entity as well as the school district, Millcreek Township School District.
Thank you, Mark. Any additional comments or questions from the board?
Just a quick comment there. I think this is a great move, as always, on behalf of Hands to come up with these pilot agreements. And as you know, pilot is the acronym for payment in lieu of taxes. I wish all of the agreements were this simple to do. Just a quick comment about that there, because they're not always difficult. And I appreciate their positive attitude about it, and I appreciate it. I think the Board of Supervisors appreciates and Hands and what they're doing with that. So just a quick comment there.
Thanks. Anything else?
I guess just to echo Mr. Groh's comments, I want to recognize that when these pilot agreements come up when there's some gray area in the taxable status of a property. So kind of an agree to disagree, meet in the middle to avoid different kinds of legal costs. And I also want to note that Hands has several properties in township that are completely tax exempt, that have been determined to be tax exempt, and Hands still makes donations to the township.
Yes.
Voluntarily. So we really do appreciate their organization, and these agreements really show they are committed to our community, and we certainly appreciate that. So.
For sure.
With that, is there a motion to approve the pilot agreement with Hands?
Yes, I will move to approve those agreements.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next on our agenda is the financial security lease request, Voices for Independence. Voices for Independence is also the developer. Mr. Waldinger.
Voices for Independence has submitted a request to release their financial security for their development on Wilkins Road. The property has been inspected. The only remaining issue was compliant sidewalks. That issue has been rectified. I don't wish to speak for her, but Township Engineer Ann Sokol has recommended release in writing on the approved form. So the Planning and Development Department would recommend that we release the financial security for Voices for Independence.
Thank you, Mr. Waldinger. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, with that, is there a motion to approve the financial security release for Voices for Independence?
Yes, I'll move on that action.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
Vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next is the sidewalk deferral request at 414 Roslyn Drive, Eric and Barbara Jacobs. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Jacobs have requested a sidewalk deferral for a home that they're constructing at 414 Roslyn Avenue. There currently are no sidewalks in the area along Roslyn. So at this time, the Planning and Development Department recommends that the sidewalk deferral be approved. And I'd like to remind the board that a deferral does not relieve the property owner from the requirement to install sidewalks. It just defers them to a future time when it makes more sense, such as if adjacent sidewalks are constructed or the township is required to place sidewalks in an area.
Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Waldinger just asked, is this going to be, will the sidewalks actually be delineated on land development plan, and there's going to be some kind of a record of this action?
There's no land development plan because it's a single-family home, but it is delineated on the permit application. Yes.
All right. With that, is there a motion to approve the sidewalk deferral request for 414 Roslyn Drive?
Yes, I'll move on that action.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
Vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
If I could real quick, Mr. Waldinger, I would make sure that when the sidewalk deferral agreement is recorded, that the permit drawing is included in that, so that we have that recorded as well.
Noted. Thank you.
And next is the July building construction report.
Okay. This comes from Julie Maggio from the Planning and Zoning Department. Excuse me just a second. In the residential end, we had 3 new single-family dwellings and 1 mobile home for a construction value of $659,300. And then in the commercial end, we had some porches and decks and patios, private garages, accessory buildings and so on, picnic pavilion. That was substantially lower at $394,500. So for the month of July, the total construction value was $1,053,800 of construction value. $5,100 of zoning permit fees were generated from that, and of course 28 zoning permits were issued from that. Copies of that are available in the Planning and Zoning Department and will be online probably, I think, by Friday of this week.
Thank you, Mr. Groh. Next on our agenda is communications, treasurer communications. Anything from you, Mark?
Nothing additional at this point.
Okay. Next item is new staff approval request, Department Administration. Gentlemen, we have a request from Diane Lyons to approve a new hire for the position of Assistant Treasurer to the Township. Candidate is Melanie Page. Anticipated start date would be August 27th, 2018. Ms. Page has over 20 years of nonprofit and governmental accounting experience. She has a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with a concentration in accounting from Edinburgh University. And of course, her offer is contingent upon successful completion of pre-employment screenings currently in progress. The starting salary for Ms. Page will be $57,000. Any questions or comments from the board?
It's a great hire. She's a great person.
Is there a motion to approve the hiring of Ms. Page as Assistant Treasurer?
Yes, I will move to hire Ms. Page as Assistant Treasurer.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is executive sessions. Just want to note for the public that the board did hold executive sessions on July 26th and August 7th to discuss various legal and personnel issues with our executive team. Next is MPD requests. Mr. Bach.
Okay, we have two training requests from Chief Scott Height. First one is for asking permission for Patrolman Chris Buckner to attend a vehicle inspection class in Warren from August 28th through the 30th. There is no cost for the course. Travel will be by department vehicle. And also a second training request for 3 officers to attend a Level 1 crash investigation course in Montgomery County. Looks like September 10th through the 21st. There are no registration costs. There is cost for motel, meals, fuel. Estimated costs for that are $5,080. I'll put both of those requests in the form of a motion.
Any questions from the board? Is there a motion to approve? Oh, you do. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right, Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
We have permission, he's requesting to enter into a loan agreement and understanding contract with Glock Incorporated to provide the department with 7 handguns for testing, evaluating by the firearms instructor. There's no charge for this review. And I believe you conducted a review of the contract, Attorney Shaw. Any
Yeah,
comments?
I reviewed the agreement, and I had a couple of questions which they have since responded to, so my recommendation would be to proceed if the supervisors are so disposed.
Mr. Bach, what's this for exactly? It's like
Okay,
a
so
new
this...
product they want us to test for them? Is that what this is?
We requested the testing. It's to evaluate 7 different types of handguns as far as fit and size for officers to possibly for future purchases. So it's more or less a evaluation of these handguns. So when new officers come in, they can have the option of selecting one of the guns.
So we're trying to provide more uniformity to, I know we've had discussions before about.
Yes.
We have a wide variety of
We do. We have
sidearms out there.
a wide variety of different calibers, excuse me, and models. So they're trying to get some more uniformity, and this is kind of the starting point for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any questions, Mr. Groh?
Nope.
Mr. Groh?
Vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Next request is permission for the purchase of a software subscription from the Power DMS Company of Orlando, Florida. The software will be utilized as a maintenance and training tool for the department. It also aids in management of the police accreditation process. The software is a hosted subscription service that does require an ongoing yearly fee. The initial cost for year one is $7,703.80. This includes a one-time software training fee of $2,200. This is the first step. We've mentioned at previous meetings about our department becoming an accredited department. So this is the electronic version of that. And I've reviewed the process. I've been through several meetings with the Power DMS people. And there is a paper option, excuse me, available for this. But most departments that have become accredited have already transitioned or are initially going with the Power DMS computerized version. And it's my opinion that that's the way to go. It's much more efficient, and this is going to streamline the department as far as their policies and procedures, and puts us in line with getting in with best practices as well. So it's my recommendation that we go with the Power DMS subscription for this. And did you have any comments, Mr. Shaw?
Yeah, I had a chance to review the underlying agreement only yesterday, and I did have some comments and questions about it. We sent some questions out to the vendor. They've responded and are willing to negotiate some of the terms and conditions that would go along with this agreement. So my suggestion would be is, if you follow Supervisor Bach's recommendation, would be to approve it subject to the negotiation of the legalese kind of terms and conditions of the agreement. I think that would be sufficient.
I'd put that in the form of a motion with his stipulations.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
I do have one question, Mr. Bach. I don't recall this item being brought up during budget discussions last year. Does Chief Height have a line item that he's available, or is there a transfer of funds that we're going to be utilizing to cover these costs?
They had, the police department had funds allocated for the radio system that they're not going to be spending this year.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that's where he's wanting to move the monies from. Is more than sufficient. The amount of that line item was more than sufficient to cover this cost.
Okay.
Yes, and I believe there was also money from the purchase of a vehicle, money left over, which was going to be utilized for part of this as well.
Okay. All right, with that is, I'll call for a vote. Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
Okay, before we go to Mark, I got a couple things here, if you don't mind, or I can come back around. Either way, they're not on the agenda. They're just
We have
memos.
training requests from code.
Oh, okay, then. When you come back around,
There's
then I'll take it.
another,
Yeah, it's no big deal, so, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Exley from our EM Emergency Management and Code Enforcement requested permission for some training for him to go to Harrisburg and attend executive board meeting, travel by department vehicle, hotel approximately $170 plus meals, and also for Mr. Exley and Mr. Dixon, the ICS Division Supervisor at Erie County Department of Public Safety for that training. And okay, for the first one, we have a correction. It's moved from Harrisburg to State College for that training request. The second request is local, no cost, use of department vehicle for that. So I'll put both those requests in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All right, Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. What do you have for us, John?
Okay, two matters here. In the next couple days, the In Millcreek magazine will be coming out, and in that it contains the Parks and Recreation schedule for swimming at the Millcreek Intermediate School. And this is something that just popped up here on Thursday. This comes from Ashley Marceller, Director of the Parks. Due to a recently announced schedule change with McDowell Intermediate Pool, The fall pool recreation schedule may be subject to change. Parks and Recreation Department is working with the Millcreek School District Athletic Office to try to make alternate plans. We hope to have a solution quickly. At this time, no swim or water exercises registrations can be accepted. Once a new schedule is worked out, the Recreation Office will communicate that with Millcreek residents as quickly as possible, and we hope to have that by our next meeting, and which is still in advance of when the classes would start. We hope to have an updated schedule by that next meeting, as I mentioned. And as always, thank you for your patience and understanding. That's just an announcement. There's a new schedule change for the water polo teams up there, and that's what's creating the problem there. They need to have their practice, and it conflicts now with our pool schedule that we have it for recreation. So, and the other one there is regarding the golf range. This also comes from Ashley. The golf range is looking for part-time help to finish out the season. As some may know, we have 2 young men working that, selling the golf balls for the range. They go back to school next week. And so they're heading back, and to continue our current hours to keep this place open, we are in need of some help. So if anyone is interested, please contact the Parks and Recreation Office. Talk to Ashley about that. Probably a great opportunity for any retirees that want to do something on a part-time basis. And as long as the weather permits, we'll have the golf range open. So I can say this jokingly, if any women out there want to get rid of your husbands, retirees for the day, here's a great opportunity there. So I know my wife, if I were retired, would love to do something like that. So
My mother would send my father out there, but it violates our nepotism policy.
yeah, well, there's a problem there. But anyway, if seriously, if there is anybody out there that can want to fill that in the daytime, please give Ashley a call. Be more than happy to hear from you and hopefully get you working. So that's all I had there. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
I'm going to move up we have one more training request. Planning and Development Department, I don't know if Matt or Ann want to cover that. If you're aware there was a training request.
Yes, there's two requests. The first one for Julie and I to attend the training course down, I believe, in Coriopolis, PA. It's in regards to the International Existing Building Code. It's an all-day course. It would give us 0.65 credits towards our ICC zoning officer certification. It's on Wednesday, August 22nd. It would be $558 for both of us. And we would be requesting a township vehicle for the day as well.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Great training opportunity.
All right, is there a motion to approve the training request?
Yes, I'll move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
Yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
You got one more, Mr. Puzz?
Yes, the second one is in regards to a floodplain course for the floodplain manager. I had sent this request, last week. On Monday, I received an email from FEMA, who runs the program, about an application I had submitted prior to this one. So this one may actually not even be necessary. I may be able to attend a course in September 24th. They cover the cost of the course. We would just cover the travel expense. So it would be for 4 days, I believe September 24th to the 27th in Emmitsburg, Maryland.
Okay.
If that would fall through, I would request, be the exact same thing. I would request the signature for this to authorize me to go to the training. This one, the dates would be either August 26, 2019, June 17, 2019, or March 18, 2019.
Just so I'm clear, Matt, you're asking for a vote to approve the submission of this application?
This one, yes.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve the training request application for Mr. Puzz?
Yes, I'll move on that, yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
Vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Next, we have the Cato picnic approval request. The Erie County Association of Township Officials, I believe their summer meeting is also a picnic.
Yes.
I believe in the past we have offered to allow not only our board and key staff, but retired supervisors to attend as well, at the expense of the township administration budget. I believe this year we will be accommodating 4 attendees at a cost of $15 apiece. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So is there a motion to approve a $60 contribution to the Cato picnic for those 4 attendees?
Yes, I will move on that.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Buck?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Mr. Shaw, you haven't had much to say to us the past few weeks. I have a feeling there's a lot today.
Yes, I suspect I'll make up for it and more. So, a number of items that we need to address, and they all relate to an event that occurred within the last month or so along Wolf Run Drive. We had obviously an unexpected collapse of a storm sewer system that has impacted not only the operability of that system, but also the adjacent properties. As a result of that, we had a special emergency meeting on July 30th of 2018 to address the collapse of that stormwater pipe, as well as approve potential easements and initial construction. Ultimately, no work was done as a result, even though it had been approved to be done, and the easements actually turned into ultimately access agreements at this point. So that was kind of the first thing I wanted to touch on.
Mr. Shaw, real quickly on that note, I know it was an emergency meeting. It was not advertised at the time.
Correct. We had determined, based upon the nature of the emergency, that under the second-class township code, we could hold such a meeting on an emergency basis. The minutes have yet to be prepared, but they obviously will be prepared for that.
That's what I wanted to ask. We'll have minutes for approval at our next
Correct,
meeting.
correct. It was just, given the nature of the situation and the need to take some action quickly, we needed to move on it, and we're unable to go through the process of the advertisement just because of the nature of the situation and so forth. Second, we ultimately did enter into an access agreement with the property owners of 5144 Wolf Run Drive, which was consistent with the essentially the easement agreements that have been approved during that special emergency meeting, but I think it makes sense to affirm the execution of that site access agreement with those property owners. Essentially, the agreement allows the township to access the property in order to do inspections and monitoring, as well as investigation, so that their engineers can go in and determine how to best solve the problem. So I would recommend that the board move and approve formally that site access agreement with the property owners of 5144 Wolf Run Drive.
Is there a motion to approve the access agreement with the owners of 5144 Wolf Run Drive?
Yes, I will move on that action.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
This was not on our agenda, but anyone in the audience care to address the board regarding this access easement action?
Couldn't hear you.
Would anyone in the audience like to address the board regarding the action we're about to take? We'll be approving an access easement that was not on the agenda. Okay, with that, Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Next, I have a similar site access agreement with the adjacent property owners at 5126 Wolf Run Drive for the same purposes, in order to access their property, as well as to, there are a couple of trees that are in danger of falling that they've given us permission for access to go in and potentially remove those trees in a safe manner. So I would recommend that approval of that site access agreement with the property owners of 5126 Wolf Run Drive. We are still kind of finalizing the final terms of that, so it'd be subject to negotiating the final terms and conditions, but the substance of the agreement would remain the same.
Any questions from the board? Is there a motion to approve the access easement with the owners of 5126 Wolf Run Drive as negotiated by Mr. Shaw?
Yes, I'll move to approve that easement.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Would anyone in the audience care to address the board regarding this access easement? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Third, along the same line, we have obviously reached out to consultants and engineers to review this, and we identified a consultant out of the Pittsburgh area who has dealt with these types of issues in the past, civil and environmental consultants, and asked them to supply a proposal to us. They came out week and a half ago to inspect the property, and we received a proposal from them late in the day yesterday. And I think at this point I'll turn it over to Ann Sokol for her thoughts and comments on the proposal that was submitted.
I've had some time to review the proposal. I'm very confident in when I met with them and also in the work that they've done for us in the past. The monies that they allotted included a preliminary design, a final design, a geotechnical study, initial site inspection, and then also a construction administration section. At this point, I don't think that we need the construction administration. I think it's a little premature until we know exactly what we're going to do as a final solution. Their cost, if you remove the construction administration, will be $51,000. That would include the preliminary work, all the geotechnical testing, all the surveying done by drone. Because of the nature of the landslide in the area, it's very dangerous to send a survey crew down there, and you'll get a more accurate survey also with drone. It'll include the preliminary design as well as the final design with plans and documents ready to bid. At that point, once the board decides which avenue we want to take, they plan to give us several options. After the board decides which avenue they want to take, then we would talk to them about a construction administration, because I also feel that during construction, you will need to have a geotechnical person on site. The soils up there are very sandy and they're very unpredictable. They're going to do borings, a split shell boring, where they'll drive down either to bedrock or 50 feet below whatever they come up with first to figure what kind of footer or what kind of stabilization they need to do at the toe of bank. And they'll work up from there. Their time schedule is very aggressive. They know the severity of the situation as it stands. And it looks like they should have something for us with their geotechnical and everything in 4 to 5 weeks, it looked like.
Ms. Sokol, have you discussed with CEC about approving this contract without the construction administration section?
Yes, Solicitor Shaw has discussed it with them, and they are agreeable to removing it from there.
Yes, we posed several questions to them once we received their proposal, to which they responded, confirming that they were going to look at various options as part of their proposal, as we had discussed with them. They gave us the general time frame of how long they thought it would take in terms of to get the drone in. One of the complicating factors is that they need FAA approval to fly the drone because it's in Delta airspace. They think they can get an emergency waiver to do that. And then the time it takes to get the drilling rig in and get the information from that. So, I mean, it is a pretty aggressive schedule, and we kind of confirmed that information from them. They were fine with removing that section, although made the point that it was their view that that was an important aspect of ultimately the project.
Well, I guess that's my follow-up question, is that we are going to hire a firm to do construction administration for this project, or are we confident we're doing it in-house?
Depending on the option taken, we would need a firm that has a geotechnical engineer on site to be on site while it's being done, because just to any unforeseens that may come up with the unpredictability of the soils in that area, anything can happen at any time, as we've seen.
Well, I guess that's my concern is if we're going to negotiate this down the road, is that going to slow the project down? If we're going to reopen negotiations or go out for requests for proposals for construction administration, is that going to slow down the delivery of the project?
I don't think so, because it's, part of it now is, I think my sense and Ann's sense was that it was premature, because without really knowing what is going to be done. They're somewhat guessing at, hey, we think it's going to take X number of weeks at this rate and this number of hours a day. So it's a little bit of a shot in the dark, and we thought, it may be better once we know what's going to happen to get a more appropriate estimate from that perspective. So I think that was at least the thought process that we were going through.
That's correct.
The other thing I will point out is I did note to them that any number approved today would be a not-to-exceed number, which they were fine with.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? All right, is there a motion to approve the contract with CEC Engineering, noting the deletion of the construction administration section of that agreement for a total not to exceed $51,000?
Yes, I'll move on that action.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And this item is also not on our agenda, but anyone in the audience care to address the board regarding this issue?
This was not budgeted, so this will have to come from general fund.
All right. Is there a motion to amend the motion to authorize funds from our reserves to cover this cost?
Yes, I'll move on that action, too.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. With that, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Groh?
I vote yes on both.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
If I could add, too, I have submitted this proposal to the carrier, insurance carrier, advising that at least I thought that some of these costs could potentially be something that would be covered because it would potentially impact any ultimate claim for any damages that may have occurred to the properties that are impacted. And then lastly, the residents who, at least the one residents, have moved temporarily out of the house, pending determination of what exactly is going to be the solution and implementing a project to ensure that hillside is stable, that's not too far from their house. And the whole scenario has been submitted to the insurance carrier as a claim.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Anything else today?
Not for me.
All right. July right to know report.
For the month of July, we had 2 requests. One was denied, the other one was granted. There was no cost to the township other than 2 hours of time spent to respond to those requests, and they were all responded to electronically.
Thank you, Cheryl. Next item is citizens to be heard. Real quickly, I believe it was Larry and Jim, correct? You gentlemen had concerns regarding flooding issues along 28th Street and a possible project regarding an open channel where there's currently a pipe. If I can address that very quickly, and then I can have Ms. Sokol correct me if I'm wrong. We did have a presentation about 2 months ago, I believe, regarding what's called our MS4 permit, the DEP. I believe that's where you gentlemen are probably referring to. We submitted several potential projects to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection regarding different pollution mitigation strategies that were required to produce. One of those options involved the potential of opening up that channel for 2 purposes. One was to improve stream conditions, because essentially putting pipes in place do deteriorate stream conditions, and 2, to add some capacity back there to hold more water in the event of a storm event. I believe that's still being reviewed by DEP, Ann?
Yes, that's still being reviewed right now by DEP, and should that be accepted before the PRP is actually implemented, there will be extensive studies to show that the capacity would make it worth the while, and
Right.
that the pollution reduction would also make it worth its while.
Right, so that was initial concept submitted to DEP, that there's no imminent project in the works to remove that pipe at this time. Just want to ease your minds about that. We did complete the cleaning of that pipe, I believe, last fall or early this spring.
It was last fall, and we have been monitoring it.
So, and I do believe since that time, we've had a few heavy rain events, and we believe that pipe has been able to carry the water from the recent rain events. So I just want to let you folks know that there's nothing imminent. for opening that channel up. It was a concept that was recommended to us by a consulting engineer that we're taking under consideration. I don't imagine any action of that in the next, within the next 18 months, I don't believe.
I don't foresee that within the next 18 months.
And we
There
would
have
be-
to be a design and a study, and initially there has to be approval of our PRPs and our MS work.
And it would be our intention to have lengthy conversations with affected property owners and public hearings on that before any action is taken. So if you gentlemen would like to come and address the board further, I just wanted to address that with you real quick. Oh, please do.
I wouldn't waste any more time on a proposal that won't work. By the time the water would get to the open trench, it's already past our houses, and the flood occurs when the water goes past the house and into the basements. We had a river that was 5 feet wide and 10 inches deep a little over a year ago on Labor Day, or not Labor Day, Father's Day.
Father's Day.
And so there was no way that this proposal could solve the issue. And the issue that has to be solved is getting more open trenches to get the water into the sewer system. And that has to be done at the top of the hill, not behind our properties. And I've lived there long enough that the property started with an open ditch. And that didn't solve the problem when it was open before they put the pipe in. And then they put the pipe in and it still hasn't solved the problem. So
Thank you, sir.
don't waste your time. I agree.
Jimmy, do you want to add anything else, sir?
Yeah, I would like to use every opportunity to address the board whenever they talk about what they're going to do in our area. You know, the first flood that I can recall was 2004, and that was a 100-year flood, and we've had about 3 or 4 of them since. And we know what, everybody, you all know what the problem is. It's 26th Street. And no matter what we do to try to collect water about a block and a half south of there, if it can't get under the street, it's going to be there. And it takes about 5 hours for it to recede. So please work with PennDOT and get some action. And if there's any more planning on this, we'd like to be involved, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else care to address the board today?
Hello, sirs. I am Sandra Sawan. I live in Walnut Ridge, on Walnut Ridge Drive in Erie. I also own a couple of other parcels of property in Millcreek. I have a question about the Embrace Millcreek Comprehensive Plan, and I'm sorry I missed that call for
Oh, that's
questions
okay.
earlier. It is my understanding, based on the zoning board hearing that we attended a couple of weeks ago, that our piece of property, which is right at the Peninsula and West 8th Street, the comprehensive plan calls for rezoning that area, but it will not actually rezone anything when it is approved. Is that correct?
What exists in the comprehensive plans was called a future land use map.
Okay.
Which we have one in place right now from our 2002 plan. A future land use map is not a zoning map, it's not zoning requirements. What it does is it lists what types of land uses would be appropriate in an area that would be used for determining, let's say, rezoning requests. Like, for example, earlier today, some folks came in for a rezoning request, and their request was consistent with what the future land use map called for,
Okay.
which is what kind of led the Planning Commission to recommend approval and for this board to approve it.
Okay.
So when you look at the Embrace Millcreek future land use map, a lot of it is concepts. So if I'm recalling it correctly for 8th and Peninsula area, it's calling for a mixed-use area, which would actually open up uses in that area.
Correct.
Not necessarily to be rezoned, although it is recommended in the plan that this board pursue a comprehensive rezoning of the township. That would be about a 6 month to a year process of evaluating our zoning ordinance and lots of public hearings. So it would not be anything that would be eminent. But we certainly encourage anyone to pay attention to that. We would highly publicize any comprehensive rezoning of the township. But at this point, the purpose of future land use map is just to make recommendations for the township, for our staff, for our planning commission when considering future rezoning requests.
Okay. Will that rezoning, will those hearings begin as soon as the comprehensive plan is accepted, or will it be delayed? We actually would like to use our property according to the new rezoning. That suits perfectly what we would like to use that property for. And we want to get that started
Right.
as quickly as possible.
What I would tell you at this point, the challenge we have ahead of us is we don't have mixed-use districts in our current zoning regulations. So that would be the next step. Future land use plan recommends that we create mixed-use districts, which would be, once the plan's adopted at the end of August, I'll be encouraging my colleagues to bring a consultant on board to work with Mr. Puz and our plan development team to actually create that new zoning ordinance.
Okay.
In the meantime, though, what I would recommend to you is if there's something you want to do with your property that is consistent, you can proceed with your own rezoning requests, and just note that whatever use you're going after is consistent with whatever our current zoning districts are.
Okay.
And I believe where you're at right now is in a resort commercial district, which is already pretty broad.
Right.
So I would say if you want to schedule a meeting with Mr. Puz or Mr. Waldinger to discuss what options you have right now, that would probably be your best bet moving forward.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your help.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for your interest.
Would anyone else care to address the board?
This gentleman here.
Hello, my name is Dennis Dolan, 1470 Taylor Ridge Court, and unfortunately I was a little delayed getting to the meeting, and I had hoped to address the board regarding some comments on the comprehensive plan, and I was wondering if you would still entertain.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. I'll go ahead and sign in here. I appreciate that opportunity, and I'm sorry I was late. Okay. If I may, I have some materials I'd like to distribute to you, and also a few visual aids I'd like to bring up here, so one moment.
If you have an extra, you want to give one to Mr. Puz there as well.
First page should say map descriptions, and the last one should be sort of the purple one. Make sure you have all the pages.
It's been a little bit longer. Thank you.
Would you like any more copies? Just leave them with you.
Thanks.
You can distribute them as you see fit.
Matt
Mr. Norris, I know we do have a 5-minute limit, but we'd be happy to have a meeting with you.
What's
We
that?
we have a 5-minute limit on public comment at our meetings,
fine.
but we'd be happy to sit down with you and discuss these after, schedule time to sit down with you as well, if you'd like.
Okay, I shouldn't need more than 5 minutes right now,
Okay.
if that's okay. That's fine, and I'd be very happy to sit down with you later and discuss it in greater detail. First of all, I think a lot of great work and effort went into the new comprehensive plan that you have worked on, and I think you should be applauded for a fine job on that. I especially like some of the ideas that you have with the 8th and 12th Street and Peninsula Drive corridors and the plans to smartly and logically develop those areas to help tourism and expand business. My comments have more to do with some of the other commercial areas, specifically the Upper Peach interchange and Route 99 corridor, where the new comprehensive plan map has significantly limited further commercial expansion in that area. And I would like to discuss a few of those issues. And while the comprehensive plan doesn't categorically stop that expansion, it does suggest to severely limit it. I think that continuing to allow smart and logical commercial development in that area should be desirable. It certainly stands to reason that you want the expansion, if any, to be done the right way so that you don't cause some of the problems that are addressed in the comprehensive plan. That is to say that, for instance, big box building is probably not a great idea right now, but there are a lot of commercial opportunities that I think would benefit the residents and the township. That expanded commercial area helps the tax base, it helps jobs in Millcreek, and it spawns residual business activity. Part of the plan, I believe, suggested that Millcreek and Summit were in a tug of war to get some of this commercial area, and it seems like Millcreek is basically just handing it over to Summit. I don't think that's such a good idea. I think that Millcreek should smartly consider some of the possibilities. So I would like to present to you, in my remaining couple of minutes, some suggestions that I have regarding differences in the map in that Edinburgh Road corridor and interchange corridor. And everybody has about 12 maps that I've given you. I'm not going to attempt to address all of them, but the pages at the beginning address what those maps show, and they're just different ideas of what I think might be good use of that area. Not all of the maps are going to be depicted in some of the things that I'm showing you, but I just wanted to give you an overview. The first one, I believe, is an existing map of the existing zoning on Edinburgh Road. Right now, you've got the Millcreek Marketplace at C4, you've got the mall over here at C2, newly rezoned area to R4 for high density across Edinburgh Road here from interchange. And there's a smattering of other commercial zoning already along the Edinburgh Road corridor. Specifically, there's C2 here, C1 over here, and then you've got some R1 and R2 along there. But that's just what it is right now for reference purposes. This drawing is a blow-up of that portion of the map for the new comprehensive plan. And as you can see across 99 here, this area has been designated as high density. This side of the road has been designated as single family. The third, well, one that says new proposed map, I'm not sure of the order that you've got them on there. This is basically the same thing, but I've overlaid that information onto a Google Earth map so that it can be seen with the topography and so forth. And you can see there's the high density residential, the single family over here, preservation area, more single family. I make a couple of proposals here. Again, there are a number of maps. I think there are a total of 7 possible suggestions that I make. not any one of those is fixed. I mean, there's all kinds of variations in between there, but I'm going to just present 2 or 3 of them to you right now for you to just get a look at, and they sort of go on the extremes. My time up?
We'll give you a couple minutes.
Okay, I'm almost finished. This one would show the properties coming up 99 from Interchange Road as fully commercial with mixed use as a buffer here before you get to the single family and high density. Right now, the new comprehensive plan calls for a pretty stark change from high density or from regional commercial right down to single family. And I think transition makes sense.
Well, that area isn't zoned regional commercial currently. The section that in red you have highlighted, that's not currently zoned regional commercial.
No, this is not current. This is one of my suggestions. It would be, say, the extreme. So we start here, and then we'll regress to less. But again, I'm almost finished here. I don't want to take up a lot of your time. This would just be, say, the extreme of making this portion commercial, this mixed use, and then transitioning, but showing transition. Where, again, now looking at the existing, it goes right from regional commercial to single family. Sort of middle of the road. And again, there are more of them I suggest in between. Well, this is also largely commercial, but it's a smaller portion. That's what's called suggestion 1. Again, there are 7 of them, so you can look at them at your leisure later. I'm just giving you a quick overview. And this would sort of be the, I guess, one of the other possible ones. This one's got a period or a section of commercial with a smaller section of commercial with a smaller mixed use, then transitioning to the single family and multifamily. And finally, the last one shows simply from the commercial to mixed use to the single family, again, all showing variations on transitions rather than stark changes to the plan. Need about 1 more minute, if that would be okay. I don't mean to keep you. If not, I'll get together with you later.
Oh,
this is
almost done. Feel free.
A map again that shows the existing zoning that we have. I wanted to point out that to the south here, there is a very large green wooded area that serves as a great buffer between all of this and the remaining residual residential area up here. So there is a great buffer area that exists that allows for some additional expansion up in this area. And the last thing I was going to show you, as you well know, Summit's in the process of doing their comprehensive plan as well. And just up the road in Summit Township, up Route 99, they've designated all of the area on both sides of the road from the line to be mixed use. So just some food for thought.
Thank you.
I would like you to consider looking at those maps and consider implementing those into the map, the new comprehensive plan, and I'd be very happy to get together with any of you at any time to discuss it further. And thank you for taking my comments, and I'm sorry I went over my limit.
Thank you, Mr. Dolan. We'll be sure to enter that into the public record at next week's hearing as well. So
Yes,
we'll be sure to enter that into the public record at next week's hearing as well.
you put a lot of work into that, thank you. Just out of curiosity, sir, is there an electronic version of what you have? Do you have like an email that you can send us?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
I'd be glad. You want
Yeah.
the entire thing?
Yeah, if you have that electronic form, because I think we're keeping electronic records on this, aren't we?
Yeah, that'd be probably more useful for Mr. Puz, Mr.
Yeah.
Waldinger to
Get a hold of Mr. Puz there, he'll be able to.
Sure, I'll do that. It may be necessary to break it into a couple pieces because
Yeah.
it may be too large to put in one
Yeah,
single
some of the
email.
files are large, yeah.
And if you're still getting together with the steering committee on some of these things, I'd appreciate if you would forward some of this information to them as well for any future consideration of finalizing those maps. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, Sandra, was it? Did you sign in by any chance, ma'am? Okay, thank you. I do want to address a couple of things that Mr. Dolan brought up. The first was a comment of a tug of war with Summit Township. What the plan really talks about, just for everyone's benefit, is In Millcreek Township, we have an excess of retail space and commercial space. I don't want to quote the exact number. I want to say it's almost 5 to 10 times the national average per capita. So we have excess commercial space in the township. Even when you exclude the Millcreek Mall, we still have twice the per capita of retail space in the township. And what we've seen in the township is because we have excess commercial supply, we're starting to see deterioration. I think you can see that driving on 8th Street, driving on 12th Street, 26th Street, that we're really seeing an under-appreciation and underdevelopment on existing commercial corridors, which is why the plan largely concentrates on restricting future commercial growth and even changing current commercial areas into mixed-use areas to give developers a little more diversity so we can see redevelopment in our core area of the township rather than seeing neighborhoods and green space turn into commercial and retail areas. In terms of a tug-of-war with Summit, the context of that is that, and I think you've seen it in Millcreek already, you've seen Walmarts be developed next door to Walmarts. In Summit, you've seen Walmarts developed next door to Walmarts. And we have been in communication with Summit about coordinating, and what you'll see in Summit's comprehensive plan is that they agree with that assessment, and they've actually restricted in their future land use map where future big box stores are going to go. So I just want to just kind of clarify the intention of the plan is for the township to actually encourage redevelopment where we already have infrastructure, where we already have dilapidated, blighted commercial properties to to encourage development there rather than continue kind of the spread of commercial development outside of existing areas. And Mr. Nolan, I will tell you, the steering committee, the project team, the planning commission actually had when we were developing the future land use map, it was that area you're referring to that had the most discussion. Mr. Bach sat in on that, our project team did. And it was really our planning commissioners and our consultant that really suggested that, there was really not a necessity to expand that commercial any further south on Route 99. We also did a joint corridor study with Summit Township, specifically about Edinburgh Road, to talk about future congestion issues and how to mitigate those issues, and land use controls that would keep Route 99 from becoming the next Peach Street. So I do appreciate your commentary, but I just want to let everyone know we have really discussed that issue at length, and I think what our Planning Commission and our consultant team has brought up is very accurate and very realistic, and really does address the issues we're seeing in the township. And we'll have further public comment at our meeting in 2 weeks. I'm sure Mr. Bach and Mr. Groh and I will have discussions about your comments, but I just want to clarify that the intent of the plan as currently written was that. So,
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dolan.
would anyone else care to address the board today?
Thank you. My name is Greg Depody, and I live at 5739 Thomas Road in Millcreek Township. And I just wanted to echo what the previous speaker said, that if you could be flexible in commercial development in these corridors, that would be in the best interest of Millcreek, actually. But I do appreciate your point of view, and I thank you for letting me speak at this meeting.
Okay. You're speaking specifically about Route 99, sir?
Yes, and the 99 corridor. Great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your comment, sir.
Would anyone else care to address the board today? Okay, hearing none. And anything else to go to the order, gentlemen?
Nope. Good meeting.
Ladies? Cheryl? Ann? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I'll move at 11:06 a.m.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.